I still actually can't stop thinking about Resident Evil 2.
Oh God.
Not the one, not the movie, the video game that just came out. Because we were big fans of the original back in 1998.
God, that was so long
which
ago.
we were still in college when that came out, and it was
revolutionary for its time.
yeah.
Like you go back and look at it now,
terror.
you're like, oh wow, what?
Yeah, but it also had the sort of inglorious thing because the first game was very tightly controlled.
Yeah, it had very tightly, like the angles were very, very fixed.
Yeah. So say the same thing with it,
which
with 2.
Obviously, nowadays we have the technology where it doesn't have to be quite as fixed,
fully 3-dimensional, but
which also has its sins.
But what I was getting at is that Resident Evil 2 started the trend towards making them more action oriented, because by Resident Evil 3 Nemesis you had a full kind of open world. It was still the fixed cameras, but you were starting to be able to gun monsters down and stuff, and shooting machine guns and things, and it was no longer about being trapped in a place and being perpetually scared for your life. So
and it was no longer, there was I think with Resident Evil 2 it also you had to have strategy. I'm not saying that you didn't, but you didn't have to be as careful as you did, say in Silent Hill.
Right. Well,
I think Silent Hill,
counted.
every shot counted. You had to be really super careful. You had to find ways out of situations that would not require you to actually enter in combat.
Right, because you were not good at combat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
whereas with Resident Evil 2, you did have to, keep a strategy. You did have to save your bullets.
You could juke around the demons.
And there were a lot of sections where it would be more advisable to go ahead and juke around the zombies or whatever. But to a certain extent, there was also a little bit more of okay, you really actually have to face this and shoot this.
Yeah,
demon.
the tyrant, the Mr. X, he was an opportunity for you to unload a bit of that pent up stress, because you had to gun him down. You had to take him down because there was no way around him.
Yeah, because he was an immovable object.
Yeah, and so, but I finished playing the first scenario and into the second, and there was a moment in the new version of it. For those of you who don't know, when you play the game, you can start. You have 2 heroes that you can select from, and then you play the game through with that one hero, and then you play through the game again with the second hero, and there are different story elements and different beats that you take, and you face off against different stuff. And at a certain point, I put the controller down and realized I didn't want to play it anymore. I was
in large part due to the AI of the tyrant.
Yeah, the Mr. X, the AI is so good. He follows the sound of you running, and he definitely follows the sound of you shooting. Yeah. So if you are in a hallway,
which is different from the original where it was scripted.
So if you're in a hallway and you just want to get past these ding dang lickers, which are these larger.
He's ding dang.
Wow, you child! Are you cackling over the name of the monster or the way that I said?
Yeah, I want to get past these ding dang lickers.
I just want to get past these ding dang lickers. I just want to get past these ding dang lickers.
Beans.
But if you fired on him, that motherfucker's gonna show up fast within 30 seconds of your 30
opening, minutes or less.
30
otherwise he
seconds
gets penalized. That was one of the weird additions to it where the tyrant was really mad about not showing up on time.
Oh yeah, he would get really mad and vituperate himself.
Yeah, I know. He would just for 20 minutes just berate himself about being late.
There were a lot of things
about how his assistant manager is going to be really
really pissed.
Yeah, he's going to be so pissed at me, man.
Just could you write down on my sheet that I did a good job? Yeah, there were some really strange choices that they made. Like the fact that when he showed up, the first thing that he did was want to witness to the coming of his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That felt strange because I thought that he was just going to punch my face off. He was going to.
But then he kept referencing Xeno, and so I got really confused.
I was very stranged out by that.
What kind of weird amalgamation religion are you dealing with right here?
Right. I mean, then he whip out a Book of the Mormon and pursue you.
Where are you going with this?
Where are you going with this? When he showed up in the main lobby of the resident Raccoon City Police Department and began to to praise Jesus to a chorus of gospel singers.
I thought it was a really weird choice.
It was a strange. It was bizarre. It was bizarre too.
It really kind of threw off the tone.
Right. It was bizarre. I thought that they decided that instead of these slobbering cannibalistic moans of the undead, that all of the zombies would sing the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
I mean, I was impressed by their ability to harmonize.
Oh,
first
God,
of
yeah.
all, especially while moaning. Like it was beautiful and horrible
It was
at the
haunting.
same time.
It was haunting. It made
haunting.
traveling through the police department.
And there was like a random mandolin player that you didn't hear at the time.
Well,
But you ran into
you could hear
Mandolin
him, but you
Zombie
couldn't see
later,
him.
but
you could see him. But then you had and I wept a little bit when I shot the mandolin zombie because I thought that he had
playing
been
a beautiful version of Hotel
counterpoint
California. I have to
the-
tell you,
And I hate the Eagles.
I hate the Eagles, but it was a beautiful cover. Give it up for Mandolin.
Give it up
Zombie.
for Mandolin Zombie right here, right now.
Also, like when you finally destroyed like a liquor, the way that it would just explode like a confetti cannon with like literal confetti. It was a confetti cannon.
Well, I mean,
it was festive, but really, really strange.
It was because I mean, in the original game, they looked like skinned dogs. They looked like you turned a person inside out and then put all of his bones on the outside too.
Yeah.
But and the redesign of making them look like festive piñatas did not, I think, strike the right tone.
No.
But it helped that the Mr. X Tyrant was
But they
in a
were
sombrero.
much more pleasant to look at, if I'm being honest. Because,
right.
I mean, the original liquors were a nightmare. And this was actually, you kind of felt a little bit bad when you cacked
I mean, hey, man, look, dude, when you got to hit them with a stick and get their delicious candy insides, you're going to hit them with a stick. I needed that for energy.
And then just watching Leon and Claire just grubbing on the ground like a small child, just stuffing chocolate into their mouths. That was a weird flex, but I liked it.
I liked it. I thought that part of it, but at the same time, I did miss the classic monster designs. I did. I mean, the William Birkin monster was so interesting, and then replacing him with noted film director David Yates.
Yeah, director of the Harry Potter
Director of the Harry Potter franchise.
The later Harry Potter films.
And instead of
sort of
pursuing
weird,
you.
Yeah, they didn't really pursue you. He just sort of followed you around. And instead of mooning like some sort of monster, he just yammered on and on about Harry Potter for like infinitely.
I think that they basically took the audio from his commentary track and stuck it into this incessant droning loop.
Except for the weird odd moments where it was clearly like somebody who was trying to sound like David Yates and not really succeeding. Talking about like Dumbledore wouldn't really like that.
Oh yeah. When you cack a zombie, when you blow it, when you pop a
Dumbledore
head
wouldn't
off like a
approve.
grape, you go, ooh, I don't think that'll go well at Hogwarts. That was not a good accent.
No, that was a horrible
apologize.
accent, and you actually know how to do accents. Like if that was me, that was like, wow, that idiot did a pretty good job for a ding dong. For someone who can actually literally do accents, and you're like, wah.